25. Sinister Legends Exposed. Discover the spine-chilling tales haunting New England today. Sarah gripped the steering wheel, the old car bumping over the cracked road. Maplewood loomed ahead, enveloped in a dense fog that seemed straight out of a horror movie. The quaint houses lined the streets, their shutters closed tightly like false smiles hiding dark secrets. She had inherited her grandmother's creaky old house and was determined to escape the chaos of the city. But the reports echoing in her mind, the stories of missing children, whispers of a shadowy figure known only as the Keeper, sent chills down her spine. The door groaned open and a wave of musty air enveloped her. She waved Ethan inside. "Welcome home," she said, trying to maintain a cheerful facade. But the shadows inside seemed to stretch and shudder, whispering like 1,000 secrets trapped in the attic. As she led Ethan through the hallways, an uneasy feeling settled over her like thick fog. She dismissed it, chalking it up to nerves. As night fell, the house creaked ominously, each sound sharp enough to cut through the silence. Then came the whispers. Sarah stopped in her tracks, her heart racing. "Ethan," she called, but his laughter echoed back. "Just my friend, Mom," he chirped. The hair on her arms prickled. "The Keeper," he said. "Just an imaginary friend, right?" Days passed, a cycle of late nights and restless sleep. She found herself rummaging through boxes in the dusty attic, uncovering family heirlooms wrapped in yellowed fabric. Old photos revealed a family intertwined with legends, a lineage shadowed by tales of disappearances. Each article she found sent shivers down her spine. It couldn't be real, could it? Ethan wandered into conversations with this imaginary friend more often, his giggles twisting into something unsettling that chilled her to the bone. The mornings passed in a blur until she met Aiden, her neighbor. He seemed friendly enough, but there was something off. His smile faded when she mentioned the stories of the Keeper. "That's just folklore," he said, brushing her off. The knowledge in his eyes felt like a warning, a sign she couldn't ignore. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue." Days turned into nights filled with dread. One evening, Sarah woke to Ethan's small voice, soft and pleading. "The Keeper says to come outside." Panic surged through her as she bolted up, heart pounding. She rushed through the darkened house, only to find the back door ajar, the wind howling like a warning. She sprinted into the woods, the tall trees looming overhead like judges of her sanity. Each step felt heavier, the whispers of the forest echoing around her. Turned back. As she searched for Ethan, she caught glimpses of swirling shadows in the periphery, unnerving figures moving, bumping through the darkness. Just as she reached out for her son, the earth trembled beneath her, revealing a hidden truth, an unseen force that could tear them apart. Her scream mingled with the wind as the shadows closed in, the suffocating darkness threatening to silence her forever. In that moment, she understood. This wasn't just a town. It was a prison woven from the very fabric of tales long forgotten. Now she had to unearth the truth or risk losing everything forever. The forest was alive with the sound of rustling leaves, the chilling breeze creeping through the treetops like a ghost passing its icy fingers over Sarah's skin. She stumbled through the underbrush, her heart pounding, breath coming in rapid bursts. "Ethan!" she shouted, desperation clawing at her throat. The shadows danced around her, morphing into nightmarish shapes, teasing, taunting her every move. Every tree felt like a witness, every rustle or whisper dripping with malice. Just as she began to lose hope, a soft giggle floated through the air, faint yet unmistakable. "Mom, over here!" Ethan's voice rang out, sweet yet haunting. It felt like the sound of a bell tolling, summoning her deeper into the darkness. With renewed urgency, she followed the sound, but as she drew closer, the atmosphere thickened, pressing upon her chest like a weight that was almost suffocating. The whispers returned, now words she could almost make out. "Come closer. Stay with us. The Keeper awaits." Suddenly, the underbrush parted like a curtain, revealing a small clearing bathed in an unnatural glow. The light flickered, revealing shadows that wriggled like trapped souls. There, in the center, stood Ethan, smiling, a bright figure against the swirling void around him. But something was off in his eyes, an unsettling glint that chilled her deeper than the night air. "Ethan!" She rushed forward, but a force stopped her. The glowing light flickered, and the shadows seemed to swell. They were alive, pushing back, keeping her at bay. "Mom, I'm just playing with my friend," he giggled, but his voice felt torn, as if it had been pulled from a deeper, darker place. The ground beneath her felt unstable, shifting like quicksand. "Your friend?" The question tumbled from her lips, heavy with dread. "What do you mean?" But her own voice barely breached the oppressive silence. Ethan turned then, and the air thickened with an unseen tension, prickling her skin as he began to walk toward the shadows without hesitation. "No, Ethan, don't!" She reached out, fear surging through her veins. "It's not safe." But he wasn't listening. That innocent giggle twisted into something sinister, echoing in the stillness, merging with the whispers. "Join us." Like a dam had burst, shadows swirled violently around Ethan, pulling him into their cold embrace. Panic surged as Sarah bolted forward, the force pushing against her like an unseen wall. She couldn't let him go. She wouldn't let him go. Gathering every ounce of strength, she pushed against the encroaching darkness, screaming into the void, "Come back!" Just as she leapt into the clearing, she felt a jolt of icy wind, as if the very essence of darkness recoiled. The shadows writhed in agony, retreating momentarily. Sarah dove, grasping at Ethan's hand, but instead of warmth, she felt a chill, a lifeless grip that sent shockwaves of terror slamming through her. When she finally pulled him to her chest, his eyes were wide, but he looked different, wilder. "Mom, he says I belong now," he whispered, his voice eerily calm. Dread pulled in Sarah's stomach. What had the Keeper done? Suddenly, the ground shook again, more violently this time. Trees cracked and split, roots twisting like giant beastly serpents. The shadows surged back, hungry and vengeful. With a terrible roar, they cut off her escape, encircling them, whispering words in a language that felt like bone and ash. "Run!" Sarah screamed, but the shadows pressed in, tightening their grip, loomed over them like a dark cloud. The Keeper was here, and he wanted something, no, everything. Suddenly, the ground shook again, more violently this time. Trees cracked and split, roots twisting like giant beastly serpents. The shadows surged back, hungry and vengeful. With a terrible roar, they cut off her escape, encircling them, whispering words in a language that felt like bone and ash. "Run!" Sarah screamed, but the shadows pressed in, tightening their grip, loomed over them like a dark cloud. The Keeper was here, and he wanted something. No, everything. Just when they least expected it, a whirlwind swept through the clearing, tearing the shadows away for a brief moment. Sarah seized the chance. She turned and ran, dragging Ethan with her. Yet behind them she could hear the laughter again, shrill and echoing, as it intertwined with the rustling leaves, promising, just promising, their return. What would happen when night fell again? Would they be ready for the keeper's next game? Or would Maplewood claim them both, just like its other secrets? And the heart of every lingering whisper, the answer awaited, waiting to consume them. With her heart in her throat, Sarah pressed forward, stumbling into the darkness, determined to uncover the truth before it swallowed them whole. With her heart in her throat, Sarah pressed forward, stumbling into the darkness, determined to uncover the truth before it swallowed them whole. The forest had become a labyrinth of shadows, each twisted tree a sentinel of nightmares. Sarah's eyes darted, unsure where to go, the sounds of laughter and whispers echoing, curling into her mind like smoke. She ran harder, adrenaline fueling her every step, but the path felt unrelenting, a trickster leading her into the clutches of the unknown. "Ethan, hold my hand," she cried, but her son had gone eerily silent. The silence settled around her, a thick, suffocating blanket that felt alive, leaching warmth and hope. Without the sound of his innocent laughter, her resolve began to crumble. As she veered to the left, she stumbled into an overgrown thicket, claws of bramble shredding her shirt. "Ow!" she hissed, pulling back, but the pain was welcomed, a reminder she was still alive. "Ethan!" Panic clawed at her throat again. She didn't want to lose him. Not like this. The laughter rang out again, this time dark and twisted, as if mocking her terror. "Mom, come play!" He wasn't her boy. He sounded different. The joy in his voice had morphed into something sinister and hollow. Fear coiled in her stomach as she pressed deeper into the forest, every whispered sound turning her blood cold. A sudden glimmer caught her attention, a feeble light breaking through a clutch of branches like a lighthouse beacon in a storm. She thought of Ethan. Maybe he was waiting for her there, but dread settled deeper. "What if it's a trap?" she whispered to herself, sweat trickling down her back. Each heartbeat echoed louder in the silence. She took a slow breath and stepped toward the light. "Ethan, please!" she yelled again. Hope flickered with each step, until she reached the edge of the clearing, her heart stuttering at the sight that lay before her. The scene was horrifyingly stunning. The shadows danced in the light, but now they formed shapes, faces, haunting faces twisted with pain, etched in eternal anguish. It was a grotesque congregation, and at the center, Ethan, standing with his back to her, engaged in a twisted game of tag with the shades, their dark laughter erupting into shrieks that swallowed the air. "Ethan!" she screamed, but it felt as if words were devoured by the oppressive air. He spun around, a gleam of something unholy in his eyes as he smiled, displaying teeth far too sharp for a child. "They want to play forever!" he giggled, taking a step forward into the fray, oblivious to the agony around him. "No! Ethan, come back!" Sarah lunged, legs pounding against the earth, desperation carving her path. But before she could reach him, a shadow surged forward, wrapping around her son with the speed of lightning. "Stay back," a whisper hissed, an icy chill filling her lungs. "No! I won't let you take him!" The words boiled up, like lava threatening to erupt. Sarah pushed through, reaching out, grasping for Ethan. The force pulled her back as she wrestled with the shadows that coiled around her ankles like chains. Breathing became a struggle as the darkness tried to suck her in. "Ethan!" she screamed, heart racing, colliding with panic. She had to get to him. But the shadows tautened, wrapping tighter, warning her of the danger. And then, in a moment of stillness,
She heard it, the keeper's voice, an echoing whisper that slithered through the trees. "Join us." In an instant, she was swept deeper into the dark, pulled into the whispering arms of despair. The clearing vanished, replaced by a void that swallowed her whole, leaving only the chilling sound of Ethan's hollow laughter trailing away. Where was he? What had been taken from her? The questions crowded her mind as the darkness closed in, but then, through the suffocating silence, a soft voice broke through. "Mom, you have to find me." The realization hit Sarah like a physical blow. A deeper game was unfolding. The keeper was testing her. Would she fight for him, or would they both succumb to the shadows? As her heart raced in anticipation of the unknown, the whispers promised one terrible truth. She had to face her greatest fears to save her son. But as shadows encased her, Sarah wondered, what unspeakable sacrifices must she make to break the keeper's curse? The darkness laughed, and so did the forest. The night was far from over. The darkness wrapped around Sarah like a vice, relentless and cold. She struggled against it, each movement feeling heavy and futile. Every inch she fought to reclaim was met with a pull from the shadows that nipped at her heels, a taunting presence dragging her deeper into despair. "Ethan!" she shouted, desperation lacing her voice. The world around her shifted, the trees twisting as if trying to eavesdrop on her pain. The whispers grew louder, an orchestra of voices beckoning her deeper into the realm of horrors. "Remember, Sarah, remember your fears." The keeper's whisper slithered into her thoughts, eliciting a shiver that coursed through her body. She couldn't submit to the darkness. She had to find Ethan. Images flashed in her mind, memories of their happiest moments together, his laughter ringing in her ears as if he were right there beside her. But that laughter was now tainted, altered into hollow echoes that twisted her memory into something grotesque. "No, no, that's not him!" she screamed into the void, but the shadows only tightened their grip. Just then, the darkness around her began to sharpen, morphing into a vivid recollection of her own fears, the fears she had buried for years. The face of her estranged father flickered in the murky fog, eyes dark with disappointment. A rancid dread swelled within her. Would she have to confront him, too? "No, you're not real," she shouted defiantly, pushing the thought aside. Yet whispers slithered back in, clawing at her confidence. "But what if he is?" they mocked, laughter mingling with her heartbeat. Suddenly, a cold wind breezed past, and the shadows began to shift. Shapes emerged, not completely formed, but outlined by a sinister glow. They folded in on themselves, revealing agonized faces, each twisted in suffering. Their mouths opened wide, delivering a cacophony of anguished cries. It was a wretched symphony that would have shattered the strongest heart. From the mass of shadows, a figure stepped forward, cloaked in dark fabric that rippled like smoke. "Are you here to play, Sarah?" it hissed, voice dripping with malice. It was neither male nor female, just a voice born of nothingness, and yet it felt familiar. The keeper. "No," she chastised, shaking her head, fear battling her resolve. "You can't have him."
"You don't have power over me." The figure tilted its head, amused. "Do you really believe that? Your soul is already entwined in this darkness. You have a choice to make, but it comes at a price." "What do you want?" she gasped, breath hitching as she fought the urge to recoil. "Your memories are the key. Your darkest fears must be unleashed.
The keeper grinned, revealing a void where its teeth should be. Face them, embrace the pain. Only then can you hope to find your precious son. Sarah felt the shadows throb, pulsating with a life of their own, drawing near. No, I will find Ethan! She pushed forward, determination igniting inside her. With each step toward the figure, the world warped. Harrowing images of failures and regrets flickering like lightning through her mind. Remember, my dear, every fear you face can either damn you or set you free. The keeper's laughter echoed, almost a song of seduction, promising her release for a price she couldn't begin to fathom. Then a shriek erupted from the shadows. Ethan's voice. "Mom, help me!" It faded, swallowed by the consuming darkness. Her heart raced as she pressed on. She had to find him before the darkness consumed them both. But as she drew closer, a dreadful realization hit. What if the cost of saving her son was her very own soul? The forest trembled. The whispers grew louder, screaming for her to surrender. What could she sacrifice to break the curse? And would it be enough to reclaim her son from the clutches of the keeper? As the shadows closed in around her, Sarah braced herself for what was to come. The night was far from over, and the true game was just beginning. A chilling sensation gripped Sarah as she took another step toward the keeper, heart pounding rapidly against her chest. The shadows writhed around her, whispering secrets that clawed at her mind. They had become her worst nightmare, twisting her memories into grotesque caricatures of her past. "Ethan," she called, voice cracking, "I'm coming." But the only response was a menacing silence that filled the air like a heavy fog. "Do you feel that?" the keeper crooned, amusement twisting its voice into something serpentine. "It's fear, Sarah, your fear, and it's so deliciously potent." With every word, the darkness pulsed, and memories began to unfold, unbidden. The day she lost her mother, the day she let her father walk out of her life, the day she realized dreams don't conquer nightmares. Each slipstream of memory rushed forward, threatening to drown her in despair. "Don't you see? You've always been afraid of being alone." The keeper stepped closer, its form shifting and flickering, merging with the shadows surrounding them. "You ran from your past, but it has brought you right back here. Face it. Embrace the shadows." I won't let you win," Sarah screamed, defiantly pushing the memories away. She focused on Ethan's voice, the warmth of his laughter. "I will find my son." Suddenly, a flash of light pierced through the thick mist, illuminating a dark path ahead. It beckoned her, offering a brief glimmer of hope. But hope was a deceitful trickster. She could hear the whispering grow louder, mocking her resolve. "You must decide what you're willing to give." Terror coursed through her as images of her child twisted into monstrous shapes. Ethan's innocent face morphed into that of a wailing child trapped, reaching out for her, yet distorted by fear and darkness. "Mom, where are you?" The echo tore into Sarah's heart, shredding her self-control. "No, I won't let this happen." Desperation surged. Tears streamed down her face as she plunged forward, ready to face whatever price the keeper demanded. The world shifted again. She found herself standing in a small, dim room.
The walls were closing in, echoing the memories she'd tried so hard to escape. Old photographs littered the floor. Her family, her father's disappointed gaze, her mother's absence. Each image was a knife, cutting deeper into her soul. "You have to choose, Sarah." The keeper floated in front of her, its laughter writhing like a snake. Face them or lose him forever. She felt the air grow heavy, stifling her breath. The shadows shifted, forming grotesque figures, whispering accusations, taunting her. "Do you love him enough to risk it all?" they hissed, voices entwined like a malevolent melody. "Yes," she shouted, defiance igniting inside her. "I'll face my fears. Just let him go." The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if startled. The keeper's eyes brightened with malicious excitement, a grin stretching across its featureless face. "Very well, let the games begin." With a wave of its dark hand, the memory surged forward. Pain, regret, and torment flooded her mind, but she took a deep breath and stood tall against the tide. "I'm not afraid anymore," she cried out, casting her fears into the darkness around her. But with each memory she confronted, a piece of her began to unravel. Was she losing herself? Would she still be whole when the darkness was finally lifted? Then, from the depths of the shadows, a scream sliced through the air. A familiar scream. "Mom!" Her heart seized in panic as the shadows quivered with newfound energy. Ethan's voice echoed louder, closer. It was becoming unbearable. "Help me!" The keeper laughed, a sound that shook the ground beneath her. "You wagered everything, Sarah. Now let's see what you're really made of." As the shadows lunged at her with an insatiable hunger, Sarah braced for the worst, ready to fight for her son's freedom or lose herself entirely. But a chilling thought clawed at her mind. What if facing her fears meant never finding Ethan at all? What lay ahead would either obliterate her completely or awaken a strength she never knew existed. The shadows lunged at her with screaming mouths and cold, grasping hands. Sarah felt the darkness wrapping around her, pulling her into its suffocating embrace.
She gasped, her breath coming in ragged bursts. The weight of her past bore down like an anchor tied to her heart. "Ethan!" she cried again, her voice barely a whisper, drowned by the cacophony of laughter and rage. "I'm here! I'm coming!" The keeper slithered closer, its laughter echoing, a twisted symphony of malice. "How touching! A mother's love! It's what makes this game so delightful. But tell me, Sarah, how far will you go to save him?" The question hung in the air, thick and rancid. Fear knotted in her stomach as visions of Ethan swirled around her. Would she trade her soul? Would she sacrifice every ounce of who she was just for one chance to hold him again? With shaking hands, she reached into the swirling mist, grasping at memories that had become voices begging for release. The shadows twisted into her mother's gaze, a mixture of love and guilt, while her father's disappointed frown loomed nearby. Tears streamed down her face. "No, you don't get to take me, not now." The anger surged, filling the empty spaces where fear had once resided. She pushed against the shadows, suppressing the memories as best as she could. "Face them, or they will consume you," the keeper hissed, its voice low and dangerous. The walls of the shadowy room pulsated, closing in like a vice. In that moment, she felt her nightmares trickling through her veins, memories running hot and cold, flashes of pain, regret, and haunting despair. Each recollection felt like an iron nail, fastening her deeper into the darkness. With a newfound determination, Sarah screamed, "You will not bury me!" As she screamed, the room erupted in a whirlwind of color and sound, the shadows recoiling momentarily before surging back with renewed fury. She didn't know how long she stood there, but every second felt like an eternity as she fought to keep her mind together. "Ethan!" she yelled again, invoking him with every ounce of strength. In the chaotic abyss, she finally caught a glimpse of his face, tears streaming down his cheeks, his small hands reaching out to her through the dark mist. "Mom, please!" The anguish in his voice shattered her. It was the echo of every fear she had buried. "Hold on, sweetheart, I'm coming." The keeper shrieked, a sound that rattled the foundation of her very being. "You think you're strong enough to take him back? The pain only grows, little girl. Your past haunts you more fiercely than you realize." Suddenly, the memories twisted again, morphing into the faces of everyone she had lost, their eyes dark and hollow, accusing her of failure. "You left us," they whispered, an echo that curled around her like ice. "No, I loved you." She gripped her head, desperate against the storm of traumas that threatened to take her. "Stronger than this?" the keeper taunted, shadows stretching and grasping towards her like a ravenous beast ready to consume its prey.
Let it all go. Embrace your darkest self. A sudden clarity flashed through her. Was this what it wanted? To see her crumble into despair? With a fierce cry, Sarah wrenched her heart open, letting the memories rush in. Pain flooded her, but she wouldn't break. Instead, she drew strength from it all, the love, the loss, the resilience. "You don't own me!" she screamed, pushing through the shadows with overwhelming force. The darkness screamed in response, swirling like a tornado, threatening to consume her. Just as she felt herself about to be engulfed, everything shuddered to silence. The shadows paused, rippling with confusion. Then, in the calm, a voice erupted through the void. "Mom?" It was Ethan. "Ethan!" Sarah gasped, her heart racing. "Where are you?" A flicker of light appeared in the distance, illuminating a pathway through the shadowy terror. But the keeper flared, a vengeful beast reclaiming its ground. Its laughter echoed, cruel and mocking. "Dare you think you can find him? The path is treacherous, and the price will be paid." Sarah hesitated for a heartbeat, the choice beating wildly within her chest. Would she march into the light, knowing the shadows could still consume everything? Or was it all a clever trap set by the keeper, waiting to snatch away her last hope? "Go if you dare," it whispered ominously, every word a chilling breath against her neck. Torn between hope and despair, Sarah steeled herself for one last plunge into the dark. She could almost feel the warmth of Ethan's small hands in her own, the light guiding her, or drawing her deeper into the keeper's snare. "Whatever I have to do to save you, Ethan," she whispered. But as she took the first step into the light, something shifted behind her, a shadow staring, growing menacingly. What price would she pay to reclaim her son? Would it be too high? The darkness stood eager, ready to collect its toll, and Sarah was about to find out. The moment Sarah stepped into the light, it radiated warmth, pushing against the frigid shadows that clawed at her heels.
She felt a surge of hope, a misplaced belief that perhaps, just perhaps, this could lead her to Ethan. But as she moved, that brightness began to twist, curling around her like a serpent, tightening with every step she took. "Ethan!" she shouted again, her voice quivering with both fear and determination. With each call, the surroundings shifted, architecture of shadows warping and spinning, blurring the boundary between light and dark. Was the keeper watching? Its breath was a palpable weight in the air, thick with expectation. As she forced herself deeper into the light, a haunting growl emanated from the shadows behind her. "You think you can escape me?" The keeper's voice slithered around her, insidious and mocking. "Lights are mere illusions. The darkness is your true self." A chill shot down Sarah's spine. Hadn't she just banished that voice? She pressed her palms together in a desperate prayer. "Get away from me!" But the shadows seemed to laugh, a twisted mimicry of joy that echoed through the empty space. Then, abruptly, she stumbled against an unseen barrier, her hands pressed against a transparent surface. Panic clawed at her throat. "No, let me through!" She pressed harder, straining against the invisible wall, but it held firm, trapping her like a moth caught in a spider's web. "Motherly instincts won't save you. They'll only drag you further into despair," the keeper taunted, its laughter sharp, a cold wind slicing through her. Memories erupted around her, fractals of sorrow dancing in the air, each shard striking her heart like daggers. Amidst the chaos, she saw his face, Ethan, terrified and lost, trapped in a cage woven from their shared grief. "Help me, Mom," he pleaded, arms reaching through the shimmering light, tears of distress running freely down his cheeks. "I'm coming for you," she screamed, fury blazing through her veins. Summoning courage, she twisted her body against the confines of the barrier, summoning every ounce of strength. In that moment, the keeper's voice escalated, now layered with anger. "Foolish woman, you can't triumph over your darkness. It is your essence." The shadows surged forward, wrapping around her legs like creeping vines, resistant yet enticing. They promised release, a freedom from the pain of past choices. The faces of lost loved ones floated before her, entwined in accusations, their hollow eyes filled with sorrow. "You failed us," they intoned softly, their voices blending into a haunting instrumental that echoed through the void. "Are you strong enough to break their bond?" the keeper serenaded. "The path you tread fractures two lives. Who do you choose to save?" Time twisted and bent around her, every second stretched into eternity. Sarah gritted her teeth, inhaling deeply. "I choose love. I choose Ethan. I will not let you take him from me." With a surge of rebellion, she pushed against the barrier with both hands, a primal scream erupting from her throat. The light began to pulse, expanding and contracting, as if resonating with her fierce determination. For a moment, shadows faltered, the distracting echoes of accusation retreating. Sarah could feel the flickering warmth of Ethan's love reaching toward her, guiding her through the choking darkness. But the keeper roared in response, its voice a storm. "Then you will face your greatest fear, dear Sarah. Are you prepared to confront that which you fear most?" The shadows withdrew, revealing a doorway awash in light, a passage that pulsated with a life of its own. But standing at its threshold was an apparition, a familiar face marked by sorrow. It was her younger self, eyes filled with regret, mirroring Sarah's deepest anxieties. "Do you want to face me?" the phantom asked, her tone dripping with judgment. "Can you confront the choices that led you here?" Would she face her past, risking destruction to save Ethan?
Would that sacrifice prove to be her salvation or doom? As she stood caught between light and dark, the shadows began to creep closer again, the whisper of the keeper drowning her thoughts in dread. Turn back, Sarah, deny your past, and let it claim you. Caught in that precarious moment, Sarah had to make a choice. Would she step forward into the light no matter the risks? Or would she succumb to the shadows, hiding from the truth she long avoided? Her heart thundered as she took a step toward the doorway, unsure of what awaited on the other side. A blinding pulse of light erupted as Sarah crossed the threshold, flooding her vision. The warmth enveloped her, momentarily banishing the chills seeping into her bones from the shadows behind. But even in this blinding brightness, something wasn't right. A stillness coiled around her, suffocating, like a thick fog hiding unspoken horrors. She staggered forward, the luminous world around her flickering, unreal. "Ethan!" The word escaped her lips, wavering with uncertainty. The bright surroundings creaked as if the very fabric of reality was straining under the weight of her question. Before her, the air buzzed and a figure began to form. It was a distorted version of Ethan, twisted and contorted, his cries distorted, echoing in an agonizing loop. "Mom, don't leave me!" Terror clawed at Sarah's heart. "I'm here. I won't leave you." "Come to me," he beckoned, arms wide open, yet the smile on his face didn't reach his frantic eyes. They were wild and pleading, but more like missing stars scattered in a stormy sky, an omen of fear in the guise of familiar love. She stepped closer, instinct pulling her forward, but the light fizzled and dimmed at her approach. On the edge of her consciousness, the keeper's voice slithered back into her mind. "What you seek is not what it seems. The truths of the past await." A tremor surged through Sarah. No, she couldn't let herself be consumed, not again. With a deep breath, she pushed through the thickening air. As she grasped at the illusion of Ethan, the vision darkened. The air felt heavier, and the light flickered ominously, like it was warning her, urging her to turn back. "Ethan, I can save you!" she shouted, desperation cracking her voice. But the familiar face grew more monstrous, fading and reforming, revealing glimpses of himself in torment. A child lost, crying for help, trapped in the shadows she thought she had escaped. "You were supposed to protect me. Why didn't you listen?" The accusation stung, piercing her heart with guilt. "Stop!" she cried, covering her ears. "You're not real." His laughter started low, building into a horrific cacophony that echoed through the space. It twisted, became layered, matching the sinister ebb of the shadows that lurked just beyond the curtain of light. They pooled at her feet, creeping upward with intent, wrapping around her like sinister tendrils. "She can't save you, Ethan. You must confront her."
"Bring her to her knees." Everything spiraled. The light dimmed further. A sickening, sweltering darkness began to seep in, wrapping around her throat, pulling her down into despair. "Please, let him go," Sarah cried out fiercely, the air thick with her anguish. She strained to break free, eyes locked on her child's maddened expression. The shadows only tightened their grip, exerting pressure like a vice around her chest. "Face us both," her younger self appeared again. Only this time her sorrow morphed into an unsettling smirk. "You can't hide anymore. We are one and the same. The choices you made brought us here." I'm not afraid of you," Sarah stammered, though every syllable trembled. The shadows whispered her regrets, swirling sinister tales of failure and choices made. But they were also honey-laced promises, caressing her thoughts. What if peace was in surrender? "Join us, let the darkness envelop you," they cooed, offering release. With grit, she wrestled against the suffocating weight. "I choose love," she shouted, fighting back against the creeping shadows. Summoning every ounce of determination, she took a step toward the twisted image of Ethan. Time slowed, as if reality awaited her decision. A blinding flash erupted from her heart, a warmth that swept through the darkness. However, as it pulsed, a chilling shriek filled the air, echoing in a discord she didn't understand. The light flared brighter, then shattered, fracturing the space around her. "Then brace yourself, Sarah. The Keeper has chosen." And just like that, everything collapsed into chaos, shadows swirling wildly, threatening to consume her whole. Would she stand her ground and face the choice laid bare before her? Or was the ultimate confrontation with her demons still lingering in the shadows, waiting to drag her into despair? Breathless and pounding, Sarah braced herself for what lay beyond the chaos, knowing full well that whatever came next could change everything. The chaos roiled around Sarah, twisting her thoughts and warping her senses. The shadows spun vigorously, climbing higher, as if eager to embrace her whole. Her heart raced, each beat echoing like thunder in her ears. The pulse of light that had just broken through was gone, leaving her in a suffocating darkness that gnawed at her sanity. "Ethan!" she cried out again, but her voice felt swallowed by the void. Anxiety clawed at her throat, making it hard to breathe. She turned in circles, battling the urge to succumb to despair. A low hum vibrated nearby, sliding through the darkness like oil over water. It wrapped around her, slithering closer. She couldn't see what it was, but she could feel it, an ancient, breathy whisper, promising freedom from her pain, if only she would yield. "Let us in, Sarah. We can ease your burden," the shadows crooned, a soft, menacing lullaby that promised to deliver her from grief. "No, no!" she shouted, shaking her head violently.
She couldn't allow them to win, not again. The memories surged, flooding her mind with guilt and shame. Each flicker of Ethan's shattered image burned her heart like a hot iron. Suddenly, a flicker of light caught her attention, a doorway shimmering faintly in the distance. Drawn to it, she stumbled forward, her feet barely brushing the ground. "Mom, don't go!" a voice echoed behind her. But this time, it didn't come from Ethan. It was the Keeper, looming in the shadows, a dark form made of nightmares. "Leave her be," the Keeper bellowed, the words reverberating through the space. "You cannot protect what you cannot even save yourself from." Sarah's breath quickened. She had confronted the Keeper before. She knew the extent of his power, and stories lined her mind like a bitter road. But with determination, she pressed on, the doorway growing brighter, beckoning her like the dawn after a long night. "Please, I have to save him." The plea tasted bitter on her tongue, woven with defeat. As she approached the threshold, the shadows lunged at her, fingers made of darkness clawing for her legs, yanking at her clothes. Wind howled through the space, tearing the air like a wild beast. "Join us!" they screamed, the cacophony overwhelming. "Ethan needs you to face the truth." A sharp pain pierced her chest. Memories flashed like lightning, Ethan falling, her screams lost in the chaos of that day. Her hands gripped her head as she tried to block them out. "Ethan, I won't abandon you." With one final push, she broke through the darkness, stepping into a vibrant room filled with bright sunlight and flowing curtains. Around her, the world was alive again, but it felt wrong. The colors were too bright, too vivid, a twisted version of her home. She looked around, heart pounding wildly. It was all too familiar, yet every detail felt off. Shadows flickered in the corners of her vision, lurking just beyond the edge of light, watching. "Sarah, you did it!" The innocent joy in that voice spun her around. There stood Ethan, not tormented but smiling, a child untouched by shadows. "You're here!" "Ethan," her voice wavered, hope wrestling with dread. This couldn't be real. "But you were—" "Shh," he said, rushing to her with open arms, as if welcoming light after endless dark. The tender smile on his face made her heart flutter. "We're safe now." But the swirling shadows at the edges narrowed in, coiling around her ankles, urging her to return to where they had been last together, the memories they both escaped. "No," she gasped, "it was too easy, too deceptive." Everything swirled again, the room flickering in and out of focus, as if reality itself was splintering. How could she tell what was true anymore? She clawed her way back, choosing to fight rather than surrender. Yet, as she turned to face the unseen terrors, the joyful expression on Ethan's face began to morph, twisting into something grotesque, eyes hollowing out. "Why did you leave me, Mom?"
The shadows merged beside him, laughter echoing through the cracks of her sanity. She's in the web now. There's no escape. Sarah stood at the precipice, a choice looming like a dark storm cloud. Behind her, the light flickered uncertainly, promising both salvation and despair. All she had to do was decide. Was this her chance to save him, or was she walking into her end? And then a voice echoed in her mind. The keeper's whisper slithered once more. "What will you choose, Sarah? It's time to face the truth, and you know it may just break you." The tension crackling in the air pressed down like a weight, leaving her with a gnawing urgency. What choice would she make when everything she loved danced on the edge of ruin? The shadows thrashed violently around Sarah, twisting and flickering like flames in a fierce wind. "Ethan!" she cried out, eyes burning with tears, her heart racing in a desperate rhythm. There, in the midst of the chaos, her son stood, legacies of light and darkness colliding around him. She stepped forward, determined to shatter the illusion that spiraled before her. "Stop!" she yelled, voice trembling with fury and love. "Leave him alone!" The longer she stood in the threshold, the more the keeper's taunts crept into her mind, an insidious chant that echoed her doubts. "You're too late, Sarah. The darkness recognizes its own." "No!" she shouted back, the fervor rising in her chest. "I will not be consumed by you." A new fire ignited in her heart, fueled by every moment of joy with Ethan, every hug, every laugh. It surged through her like a tempest, a glorious rebellion against the weight of her past. With a surge of resolve, she plunged forward, weaving through the shadows that lunged for her. She didn't glance back, she couldn't. All that mattered now was reaching Ethan, dispelling the lies that tried to ensnare him. "Mom!" Ethan's voice rang sweet and clear, though it wavered with a hint of fear behind the facade. "Come play with me." She shook her head violently, the despair threatening to drown her, but she couldn't afford to let it win. "Ethan, this isn't real. Please, I need you to see." The warm glow of their memories ignited her spirit, a beacon slicing through the suffocating darkness. Suddenly, Ethan's bright face wavered, flickering in and out like a faulty light bulb. The keeper's laughter sliced through the air like ice. "This is the truth, Sarah. Your son is lost, and it's your fault." "No!" she screamed, her heart clenching painfully. As if her words were some kind of incantation, the shadows recoiled, just for a moment, giving her the breath she needed to continue. "Ethan!" She charged forward, snatching his small hands into her own. "We're getting out of here. I promise. You just have to trust me." For a moment, their fingers intertwined, warmth radiating from their grip, and a flash of clarity surged through the turmoil. But the murmurings of the keeper crawled back, slick and persistent.
"Can you really save him, or will you both succumb to darkness?" "No!" Sarah cried defiantly, feeling the shadows coiling tighter. "I'm not afraid of you!" The ground began to shake, the air thick with swirling shadows, but she held tightly to Ethan, breathing deeply, wanting to resonate hope within their clasped hands. "You are worth fighting for! I won't let you go!" Ethan's face softened, his innocence joining the resolution blooming in Sarah's heart. "I believe you, Mom. I want to come home." In that instant, the shadows roared in fury, a tempest of fury unleashed. The keeper, now looming with rage, contorted its form, the inky darkness shifting, searching for a weakness to exploit. "The bonds of this curse run deep. You will never escape." But Sarah steeled her resolve, the warm memories amplifying her love, turning it into a shield, a golden barrier against fear. "We will break this curse, together!" The shadows shrieked as they collided with her shield, and she felt the weight of her choices, the costs of her past, but they wouldn't drown out the cacophony of love that surged through her. Stepping into the light, she closed her eyes and drew upon every ounce of strength, every moment of joy, and every ounce of pain. "I choose you, Ethan," she declared. "I choose love." The ground cracked and the air thickened, reverberating as reality began to twist. The darkness writhed, shrieking in agony, collapsing in on itself, as if Sarah's love held a power far greater than despair could ever comprehend. And together they surged forward, the shadows dissipating like smoke, the keeper's howl echoing into silence. The bright radiance enveloped them, blinding her momentarily as they pushed through, emerging into a world where love triumphed over darkness, where shadows were whispers of memory, not chains of despair. As light spread around them, revealing the beauty of a new dawn, Sarah felt the warmth of her son's laughter fill the air once more. "We did it!" Ethan beamed, eyes wide, innocent and bright. "Yes," she laughed, pulling him close, drenched in relief and joy. The lingering echoes of that dark place faded behind them, their warmth and bond stronger than before, no longer haunted by the keeper's grasp. Hand in hand, they ambled toward the rising sun, a world awakening with the knowledge that love could conquer the darkest nightmares. No shadows could haunt them here, only the promise of new beginnings and the remembrance of the battles fought, for it was those very battles that had forged an unbreakable bond. And within the woods, though the whispers remained, faint echoes of a time past, the keeper's hold was broken, powerless against the light of their love. They had won. Maplewood was no longer a prison, it was a sanctuary. It was time to embrace life anew. If you enjoyed this spine-tingling conclusion, you need to subscribe now to catch all the exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button to help support the channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so flood the comments with your reactions and theories. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with 5 friends who need to see how this epic journey ends. Your support means everything, true fans. Let's spread the word.